Greetings, M squared, and we are going to solve some linear equations that have variables on both sides. But these particular ones, you'll see, have some combining like terms that we have to do before we are able to move variables and move like the x terms and the constant terms. So the first thing we do is we look at the left side. We have an x term and a constant term. We can't combine things if they're not like terms. Over here we have an x term, a constant term, and an x term. Remember, the word constant means number, so a number term without a variable. So we have an x term and an x term. We need to combine those first. So 9x minus 9, there were no combining like terms that we needed to do. We just dropped that down. But then before we write the right side of the equation, we want to combine these. So 6x minus x gets me a 5x. And now I'm ready to move things from one side to the other. So I have to pick which side I want my x's to be on, because I want my x's on one side and my numbers on the other. Doesn't matter which way you pick. The way I decide is I look at the x terms, and whichever one is the largest one, like 9x is bigger than 5x, then I move it to that side. Then I don't have to worry about negatives later. So I'm going to move the 9x to both sides. I mean the 5x to both sides. So I minus 5x to both sides. 9x minus 5x is 4x. I bring down the negative 9, and I drop down the 13, because 0 plus 13 is 13. So since I moved my x terms to the left side, I want to move my constant terms, or my numbers, to the right side. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0, plus 4x is 4x, and 9 plus 13 is 22. So now I need to get rid of the 4. It's being multiplied by x, so the opposite of multiplication is what I do, which is dividing by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And 4 goes into 20 5 times, and then there were 2 left over, and 2/4 would get me a half. And if you're probably more comfortable with decimals, so I'll do it as a decimal. You could say 5.5 too, but we will leave it as 5.5. And now to check that, remember, when we're checking equations that have x's on both sides of the equation, we want to put our x back into the left side, write that answer down, and then put it into the right side and write that answer down, and make sure they're equal. That's how we decide if it's correct. So I'm going to say 9 times 5.5 minus 9. That's 40.5. So I hope that this side is 40.5, and then I'll know, if it is, then I'll know that my answer is correct. So I'm going to say 6 times 5.5, because that's 6x, plus 13 minus 5.5. Because every time I see an x, I put in what I think x is. And I must have did that wrong, because I know it works. 6 times 5.5 plus 13 minus 5.5 is 40.5. So that is the answer there. We are correct. I must have did a wrong sign somewhere. Okay, so over here to this one. You'll notice that I have an x term and an x term on the left side. I need to combine those. 4x minus 2x is 2x. Then I have 2 number terms here, and I need to combine those. 20 minus 17 is 3. So we bring down the 3x and the minus 15, because there was nothing to combine those. So now I have to decide which side do I want my variable on. Well, 3 is bigger than 2, so I'm going to move my x's to the right side and my numbers to the left side. So I'm going to do that in one step this time. I did it here in 2 different steps. See if you like that. It's okay if you do it that way. So I'm going to minus 2x from both sides, which zeroes that out. And at the same time, I'm going to move my 3, my constant term, to the other side, the left side. So I'm going to minus 3 from both sides. It cancels out there. So negative 15 minus 3 is a negative 18, and 3x minus 2x is plain old x. So if I was going to check that, I would put negative 18 back in there. So 4 times negative 18 minus 15 minus 2 times negative 18, and I'm using parentheses for multiplication, which you can do, and that was a negative 51. Let me rewrite that. So I'm going to see if it works over here. So I'm going to say 3 times negative 18, because that's what I think x is. Oh, I forgot to write that down. I'll just write it after this. Plus 20 and then minus 17. and I get a negative 51. So since both sides are the same, I know that this is my correct answer. So good luck with those variables on both sides. Remember, you just combine like terms first, and then move it just like you would a constant term. Do the opposite of what's happening. M squared, signing out.